Hello and welcome to a brand spanking new video. Right, today's video we're going to be doing something a little bit advanced, a little bit technical. And believe it or not, that's a big word for me. I was looking through the collection of aircraft I have on Flight Simulator and I decided to give this a go. This is a Cessna 152 Aerobat. And it is about as basic as you possibly can get in aviation. Chances are, if you start off learning to fly, trying to pass your PPL, I think it is called, your pilot's license, you will start off in something like this. This is a glorified lawnmower with a pair of wings on it. But it is a good aircraft to show off in Flight Simulator. It is the basic Cessna 152 Aerobat, but it is, like I say, it is still a fun aircraft to fly. So what we're going to do today, we're going to be departing from RAF Scampton. We're going to depart off the runway, disappear out over the countryside, and we're going to be practicing some stall, spin, recovery style maneuvers. Now this is not done by the book, okay, for how to recover a real aircraft in a stall situation where you stall a wing, stall through lack of speed or anything like that. This is basically how the Flight Simulator translates stalls, because those that used to fly in FSX, FS 2004, you still had stall capabilities, but they were never quite as realistic. So we're going to try this and see what Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 does for stall maneuvers. So let's jump into the cockpit and get this show on the road. Turn on my track IR, just make sure that's centered. Right, so here we are. Like I say, the basic Cessna 152. This is an extremely basic aircraft. I can't get over saying this. There's a lot of other GA aircraft out there that are a lot more advanced than this. Can travel further, travel faster, have more functionality, more avionics, advanced features such as folding undercarriage. All that stuff we don't have. We have flaps, a few avionics here, very simple communication system, code, I can't, the transponder codes here, so I think we'll be squawking 7000, which I think is VFR flights in the UK. It's either 7000 or 1200, I can't work out which one it is, but anyway, we don't really need that because that's ATC related stuff. Instrumentation, it's basic as you possibly can get. The instrumentation we'll be paying attention to most on this flight will be the airspeed. This is done in knots. The artificial horizon, well, that's obviously calibrated properly, and the altimeter. We do have the RPN over here, which we'll be paying attention to during the flight as well. So let's get this aircraft up and running. I don't know why that guy is always standing there, but he's extremely brave standing at the front end of an aircraft that I'm in charge of. So anyway, put the batteries on. Mixture we're going to set to full. Parking brake is set and checked on. Beacon lights are on, nav lights are on, so that's showing anybody on the outside that this is a live aircraft, and we will be about to start. Crack the throttle a bit. There is a fuel lever here, so that's now set to on. Yep. It's come through on the mags to both. So, brake is set, throttle is cracked, mixture is ready, and let's get this going. A very simple aircraft to start up. I'll let the engine idle at about 1000. Shortcut the altimeter to make it level. That's using the B key. Obviously we are sitting quite level. Bring the mixture back just a touch for idling. Obviously, like I say, there are a lot more better aircraft out there in the GA world in Flight Simulator, but this is still a very good aircraft. So, like I said, we don't have to pay attention to air traffic. There is no other aircraft in the area. So, we were departing runway 04, which is off to our left-hand side there. fly out from the airport, or from the airbase even, and we will start our manoeuvres. We will be wanting to gain altitude to about 3,000 feet, because this will involve stalling the aircraft intentionally, which will involve losing altitude. So, throttle back, brakes off, and let's go. You are brave. I do like these GA aircraft in Flight Simulator, and like I said, this is just the one that comes with the copy of Flight Simulator. There are better versions out there. We have done a live flight with the Just Flight Turbo Arrow, very good aircraft. We still have to fly the A2A Comanche 250, that is just simply the best, end of argument. But we're starting off with basic. So heading out to runway 04, we're not going to use flaps, we don't need flaps for this. It's a very light aircraft. We've got a 50% fuel load, which is more than enough. Nobody in a passenger seat. And a plenty long runway at Scampton. Let the aircraft level out, come onto the brakes. Parking brake set. So going for full mixture. We're not going to need pitot heat. Got the alternate on master as well. Should have really put that on myself actually, but taxi lights, landing lights we're not going to need, it's bright enough. Obviously this is not a realistic way to fly the Cessna 150. In fact, we will turn that on. Squawk 7000. Obviously, like I say, there are many things we've missed in the startup process and run-up process and all the rest of it. But like I said, this is not about how to fly a Cessna 150 correctly, in which case you wouldn't be watching this video in the first place. So, coming off parking brake, sitting onto the wheel brakes. Bring the power up. Checking the RPM. We're set, coming off the brakes. Make sure the aircraft's level and going down the runway correctly. And bringing up the throttle. Like I say, it is a very easy aircraft to fly. This runway is more than ample for our purposes. Currently keeping an eye on the speed, altimeter, climb rate, and making sure that our RPM is not at the limit. More advanced versions of Cessnas do come with a prop pitch control as well as a throttle and the mixture. We just have the mixture and the throttle to worry about. Basically, we're going to start a spiral climb loosely up to about 3,000 feet before we start our manoeuvres. It's going to take us a while to get up there due to the, shall we say, lacking of the horsepower department of the Cessna 150, 152 even. maintain a nice 80 knot speed in the climb. I just wanted to say, obviously this is the second of my pre-recorded videos. The first video was of the OV-10 Bronco, which was actually an amazing aircraft to fly and a great video to record, and I'm actually surprised at the amount of watches it received on YouTube. Now don't get me wrong, it's not the best video in the world and the best video on Flight Simulator, it certainly isn't, but I wasn't expecting to get 10 people to actually watch a video, so I think it's around 200 at the moment, so that's actually quite something. So I'm not going to say let's get, you know, thousands of likes. If the channel gets that good, then I'll be ecstatic. I just want to show Flight Simulator off as best I can. And if people want to watch those videos, you go right ahead. Just leveling off the climb a little bit. We're just losing a little bit of speed. I want to, like, say, maintain around 80 knots. Scampton off to our 11 o'clock. Passing through 26, heading for 3,000. Now what we are going to do in this flight is intentionally stall this aircraft. Now you might be asking, what's a stall? Well, a stall is when you basically depart even flight. The wing is developing lift. That's how an aircraft works. The engine pulls it forward, the wing develops lift. I'm not going to go into the details of how a wing works, but that is how this aircraft is flying at the moment. What we are going to do is get it to a point where the wing cannot develop any lift, and it will either stall across the whole wing or it will drop a wing. So either the left side or the right side will stall. It will not be able to develop lift, and the aircraft will fall out of the sky. It will go into a spin, and it's our job to basically get out of that predicament. Obviously this is not, like I say, how you do it for real. This is just how Flight Simulator 2020 has translated stall maneuvers. So what we're going to do, we are now currently at about 70 knots above our altitude. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a slight dive. We're going to increase our speed to around 115 knots, just started to get into the yellow. Slowly pull the nose back into a higher angle of climb, and basically keep the throttle quite high and stall it through lack of speed and see which way the aircraft is going to go, which way is it going to behave. So starting the dive, throttling up. We're not going to push it to the firewall. It's about 24 on the RPM, passing 100 knots now, starting to pull up. Looking outside to get our angle. We're going to hold it at this. We are currently at nearly 20 degrees nose up. It's getting difficult to hold the aircraft. Speed has bled off. Stall warning siren, and we're drifting to the left. Left wing has gone into a spin. Watching the airspeed, kick the rudder the way, leveling out and trying to regain altitude slowly due to the going into the yellow there. We don't want to overstress the aircraft in the climb. So just retrimming out the aircraft. So what happened there? The left-hand wing, that wing right there, stalled before the right-hand side. You basically saw the aircraft start to yaw towards the left, turn towards the left, and eventually basically departed flight into a dive and a left spin. How do we get out of that? Throttle back up again, kick the rudder into the opposite position, so we're turning rudder to the right, a little bit of right stick, gain the airspeed back up again because we have time, because we're at 3,000, nearly 4,000 feet really, and basically with speed stop the aircraft from spinning and just gently pull out. So let's do that again. So we are clear on the right, clear on the left, into a dive, pushing the throttle forward, again not pushing to maximum, we don't need it. There's about 113 knots, pulling it up, keeping the rudder straight, about 20 degrees vertical, having to pull the stick back quite hard. There's stall warning, and left side again. Now that was a little bit more vicious. You could hear the buffeting and the stall warning kicking in. Aircraft goes into a dive, still spinning slightly towards the left, but we're able to control it with a boot full of opposite rudder, a little bit of opposite stick position, and basically gain the airspeed because, like I say, we have time, we are altitude. So let's intentionally stall the aircraft to the right. Again, into the dive. Airspeed is what we need. Start to pull up. Holding it, cutting the throttle, kicking in a little bit of right rudder, waiting for the stall warning. There it is. Right wing goes. Throttling back up. Watching the airspeed, we have gone into the yellow. We can do that, but obviously the faster we go, we don't want to be yanking a stick back too much. So we're going to reposition ourselves. So we're over Scampton at the moment. Airspeed is a little bit low, so we're going to bring that back up again. And now we're going to try and break past the maximum climb rate and see if we can put a particularly nasty stall in. So, building the airspeed back up again. Don't have to dive down too much. 115, nose coming up. Throttling back, we looks like we're stalling to the right a little bit, and there we go. And that was a different kind of stall there. You actually saw the aircraft basically pancake. It didn't go really to the left, it didn't really go to the right. There was a slight bit of right in the start of the manoeuvre, but as soon as the aircraft's wing could not develop lift, the whole aircraft just dropped straight down, nose first, due to the weight of the engine being at the front. So if you want to practice stall manoeuvres, what do you need? Well, you need a good aircraft that represents, or can represent, stalling technique in the flight simulator. Some aircraft are better at it than others. The A2A Comanche, for instance, will be very good at doing that, and we will do that in future videos. The Cessna 152 Aerobat here is still a very capable aircraft in teaching you the basics of how to handle a basic light aircraft. But you do need a little bit on the control side. I'm running the Thrustmaster Warthog stick and throttle set, but I'm also using my Virpil pedals. So I have a set of actual rudder pedals, and this basically means I can get better control from my rudder, because essentially that's what a real aircraft has. Those things down the bottom there, they're my rudder pedals in the aircraft, and I have a representation of those here from Virpil. And I've always found when you don't have rudder pedals, it's difficult to do this kind of manoeuvre. But with the Virpil pedals and pretty much any other rudder pedals, as long as they work well, good connection, then you do get some good responses in the stall manoeuvres, and you can also use the rudder in the turns, so you get very accurate turns, not trying to gain or lose altitude. So what we're going to do, we're going to start our steadily descent back down to runway 04 at RAF Scampton. So maintaining about 81, 82 knots. I was actually reading the vertical indicator there a little bit wrong. It's not 20 degrees, that will be 2,000 feet a minute. So at the moment we're sitting about 500 feet descent a minute. We obviously can go a little bit less. The indicator only goes to 2,000. Obviously not relying on comms because we just don't need them. One of the downsides of Flight Simulator is the ATC. It's always been a downside of Flight Simulator. It doesn't matter whether it's FSX, FS 2004, whatever. Flight Simulator just does not do decent air traffic. One of the funny things about it is FS 2020 will actually populate an airfield with aircraft it thinks would be good to see at that airfield. So let's say, for instance, we've got RAF Scampton here to our left. It was a military airfield, Royal Air Force. So it puts civilian aircraft all over the place, which is all right. It's just, if you know they're not supposed to be there, it doesn't look good. But the funniest thing I ever saw was when I went to Duxford, because I had the Imperial War Museum Duxford scenery as part of my sim. And those that know Duxford know that you'll see Spitfires, Mustangs, Hurricanes, a B-17, a PBY Catalina, Warbirds. You'll see those kind of aircraft. And as I was taxiing out in, I don't know what it was I was flying at the time, probably the Comanche, I had airliners sat on the grass, which just would not be realistic. But the Flight Simulator thought that they would look good. So I'm going to put the landing lights on for this. Normally I'd be flying aircraft with GPSs inside them which show you exactly where the runway is. But the 152 is about as far away from advanced as you possibly can get. So we're going to come down to flaps one stage, retrim the aircraft out. Check the flaps have come down, they have, both sides. Maintaining a slight left-hand turn. don't want to dive for the runway, we just want to fly towards the runway. Plenty long enough runway, we don't need any more flap. Maintaining the turn with rudder and stick input. Want to be touching down around between 60 and 70 knots. We do have a hill approaching us, so we want to keep an eye on that. So what we're going to do, line up as best we can. We're going over the landing lights, over the threshold, or piano keys as the RAF will call them. Aiming for our landing point. Bit of right rudder to bring the nose back. Throttling back, nose coming up. Want to have the main wheels touch down first. Holding it, holding it, holding it, and any minute now. Bit of rudder to go the opposite way there. But we're down. And what I'm going to do, I'm not going to trundle down the whole entire runway going for the next taxiway. We're going to backtrack. Don't have to worry about any other aircraft. The runway here at Scampton was originally designed for massive, great big RAF V-bombers like the Vulcan back in the 70s. So things like the Cessna 152 Aerobat are not going to be a problem. So flaps coming up. Mixture we're going to bring back. So here we are. I'm just going to stop here. I'm going to show something off of the ATC, the aircraft that get populated. So you can just see over there by the red fire truck a CH-47 Chinook. I do believe that's an American Chinook. I could be wrong. That's all right. You can get away with things like that. But what's next to it is a UH-60 Black Hawk, and I do believe there's a Black Hawk over there. I don't know the last time that there were Black Hawks at Scampton. Landing lights coming off. When I first got Microsoft Flight Simulator, I had the Thrustmaster Warthog stick, which doesn't have rudder twist capability. And I found myself, when it comes to taxiing, was a complete nightmare. It just wasn't realistic at all. So that's why I ended up buying the Virpil rudder pedals, and trust me, they are an absolute game changer. So we're going to head round this way, because I don't want to taxi towards Clive the grounds person. So he's just still sat over there doing diddly squat as per usual. So we'll go around, head towards him. Parking brake set. So we can bring the mixture out. Actually, we'll do it for the mags. Pull back the mixture, throttle's pulled back, nav lights off, strobe lights are off, beacon lights are off, landing lights are already off, battery is coming off, a little bit of a flicker there. And there we go. Simple. Cessna 152, about as simple as it gets for Flight Simulator. This is the basic version of the aircraft. Fantastic little aircraft, and again still capable of teaching you the basics of stalling maneuvers and how to get out of a stall. So I hope you found this video interesting, hope you found it fun, and I shall see you guys and ladies at another Flight Simulator video very soon.